Welcome back to Life During Wartime. This is yours truly, the Wolfman, speaking. Tonight, I'd like to introduce our very special guest on the show, and that is none other than the legendary Chaotic Dischord. So, everybody, tell me your names. How are you all doing this evening? It's good to have you with us on the show here.
I'm Rancid.
I'm Ampex.
I'm Mucus.
I'm Rusty Krusty.
All right. So, Ampex, you're in original lineup with the band too, then, right?
Yeah. It was my idea.
All right, it was your idea, so it all started there.
It was not your idea.
Yeah.
He was the one for Becky back in the day.
Becky was my girlfriend.
All right, so Becky's your girlfriend. We start there.
Not now, unfortunately.
Well, not now, but back then she was your girlfriend.
Back then, that's how it all started. Yeah.
So is that so you start riding around with Vice Squad then, and this is like early 1980.
Before Vice Squad, me, Rancid, Igor, Ampex, and Becky, we started a band, but we were
sex age. We were sex. Yeah. So we had the sex age before Vice Squad. So Becky was our singer.
I played drums.
Rancid played drums. I played bass, and we had another guitarist. But we were rubbish. We were total rubbish.
Yeah.
Really rubbish. But obviously Becky had a little bit of talent. So then she wanted to go. So me and her started going out with each other, and then she joined Vice Squad, and like when Vice Squad formed, and I started as their roadie and their tour manager.
All right,
so that's when we invented Chaotic Dischord.
So at that point, that's when Chaotic Dischord gets going. Now, where do Dave and Shane get involved when you're on the road? When's the idea come to make a tape and start getting this? The whole scheme come together.
Because when Vice Squad were first doing records, so Simon Edwards, who owned the record company, he had his own record company called Heartbeat, yeah, and he was putting out lots of sort of like indie stuff, but not proper punk stuff. So he eventually said he'd do a Vice Squad single, but he wasn't going to put it on Heartbeat. So Becky invented the name Riot City Records. So Simon then created Riot City Records because Becky invented the name, and she invented the name, and then so we did two Vice Squad singles. I think that was the first Riot 1 and Riot 2. But then Simon started putting bands onto Riot City, and we thought that it was our label because he had Heartbeat, so he should be putting bands on the Heartbeat, and anyone that went onto Riot City should have come and been agreed with us because it was our label basically. But Simon decided to do what he wanted to do because he actually owned it, so of course he could do what he wanted to do. So he started putting lots of bands on that we wouldn't necessarily have put on there. Some of them were brilliant, but some of them maybe weren't so brilliant. And that's when Vice Squad were doing some demos. So we were in a recording studio doing some demos, and we came up with the idea that we could do hardcore. Yeah. We could basically fool Simon because he was putting almost anyone who turned up with a Mohican. So if you took a photograph and you had a Mohican and you played some 1, 2, 3, 4 2-chord songs, Simon would put it on Riot City. So we said we'd prove that one. He said he didn't. He said they had talent and things. So we said we'd prove him wrong basically. So we'd say we had Mohicans because none of us did have a Mohican at the time, but we'd do some real gluehead punk and see if we put it on Riot City. So we did, didn't we?
Yeah.
That's how it started.
And they did.
Yeah.
Well, Rancid, when did you get involved in the mix? When
At the
did
very
you first
start,
show up
because
in
I
the
used to
mix?
hang around with them all the time. Because we did a band with Vice Squad with Becky before Vice Squad. So, and me and Igor were bestie mates. So, just used to hang out together. And I was at the studio at the time. We said, "Fuck it, let's just make a gluehead punk rock song," and we did Blue Accident.
And they handed you the microphone.
Yeah. But he was drunk. He was very drunk when we did it. So we did the backing track in 5-minute first take. Whatever it went down. And I couldn't even play bass. I mean, I was just a roadie basically. So I played bass because.
Can you still?
Well, no, I still can't play bass either. So obviously Shane and Dave could play because they could play. I played bass. We got Bambi drum, and we did Glue Accident.
It was fun.
And then you get the idea. So you package this thing up, right, and you get it stamped from Swindon. Come up with some girlfriend in a story, and eventually it lands in Simon's hands at a pub, right? I've read an interview where he talked about this, and he said exactly like you did, but he kind of he put it more in the light that, you know, he would listen to any demo that everybody was more of a dime a dozen, more or less. What's funny, though, is I've never heard the other side of the story. So what happened at the pub that night when you first get the record to him, or get the demo to him? Sorry, the tape.
No, we posted it to him from Swindon.
So he actually got it. He actually got it via postage. Like, it showed up in the mail then.
Yeah.
Oh, what?
But we made it really. It stood out because we made it really, really crusty and dirty, like someone had spunked all over it. It looked rotten. So. It would have stood out, so he would have wanted to put it in and see what it sounded like.
The anthrax was on the outside.
Yeah.
Well, did he? So when did Shane have to approach him about it, or did you all ask him about it? And you were like, "Hey, did you hear this tape, or did this tape come in? How did you encourage it?"
I can't remember that.
I don't know, because you see, the thing was Simon was going out with Shane's sister.
All right.
Which was the other connection.
So
Simon was going out with Shane's sister, eventually married her.
Oh, really?
Because I used to like wind him up by like trying to like snug her and that, just to wind him up. And be horrible, but so he used to go to Shane's house anyway. So yeah,
I can't remember that little link. How
it came back to us.
I think maybe I put a fake address there in the envelope with the tape.
You were quite the guy back in the day.
Let's be that.
All right, so the tape's kind of there now. But at this point, like, things change for Vice Squad too, right? Because Vice Squad start doing the EMI shit and all that stuff's going on, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of on the fence. How does this play into the Chaotic Discord world? Like, where did this transition for Chaotic Discord? Because this all kind of going on simultaneously.
Well, Dave and Shane wanted to not alienate, but didn't want to be seen to be involved with Celtic Discord because of the AMI thing.
Yeah, well, they thought they were proper
rock star.
They were trying to do like the Sweet Revenge thing at some point around then too, weren't they?
That was after.
Okay, that was like 84, 85. All right.
Yeah, I mean, they were going there sort of, but I mean, it was just because it was a pure piss tape, really, with that first tape, and then Simon liked it and said he was going to put it on the album.
Yeah, Rights Assembly. Yeah.
But then he found out that it was us, didn't he?
Yeah.
That's what. Yeah. When I don't know.
In an interview, Simon said that he had been hinted, or somebody from Amebix. He didn't specify a member. I think Stig. He said Stig had dropped a hint on him and told him about it maybe being Vice Squad or members of Vice Squad and you know, the hangarounds.
Yeah, I don't know how he would have known.
No, I don't know.
We didn't really speak to the Amebix, did we? I mean, we did.
We called Weetabix.
All right, so you get in the studio at this point. Now you work with Steve Street. Is Steve Street's name familiar to you all? Because he shows up in credits as your producer everywhere, and this is in multiple recordings.
Yeah, but he's not the Steve Street who did the Smith.
No, I wouldn't know any correlation to that. But go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, Steve Street owned the studio because it was Sam Studios. It was Steve and Merv, so SAM. Right. And Steve owned the studio, and that's where Vice Squad did all their demos. And and some recording. And so we just then because by then Vice Squad had signed with EMI, so EMI would pay for studio time to do demos and things. So we used the spare studio time basically. So before or after or whenever, when it was just spare studio time, we said we'd just go and do something, and so we did the whole of Fuck Religion in a day, basically, by just banging the tracks down, straight after each other, and then again go to the pub at tea time, get rancid drunk, back to the pub, back to the studio, standing in front of the microphone, and we'd written some of the lyrics we hadn't written,
and I forgot the words.
Yeah. again. The rest of it.
Yeah.
Now with what was I going to ask you? With okay, so but I want to talk about the recording sessions a little more. Like exactly were any of the songs prepared before you get down there? Because some of this stuff is, I mean, you all wrote some really good songs. I know that some of them are kind of off the cusp, especially lyrically. But you have some songs like "City Claustrophobia," you know, in particular. That
we stole that.
We stole that from Disorder. He was in a mod band
the excerpts
before he joined Disorder.
Yeah,
I remember.
Yeah.
Right.
So
It's a cover of Exodus.
yeah. So what we were trying to do with that whole, I mean, when we did that album, we just went in the
we
studio.
did Fuck the World before.
Yeah. I mean, Fuck the World came before that.
Yeah.
But I mean, with the album, we just went in. We didn't have any songs written.
Well, I did.
You had lyrics.
I
Right?
wrote a little lyrics, and I gave them to Dave, and then he just put stuff together with them, didn't he?
Yeah, but he basically did it on the spot, pretty much.
Yeah.
Because Dave did have a talent. Like, he wasn't the greatest guitarist in the world, like technically, but he had a talent for like finding like nifty little riffs and tunes that went together, and like stealing bits from other people as well, and like putting them together. So we just went in and those songs only ever until we played the gig down the road here a month ago. Yeah. Those songs have never ever been played again. You know.
Literally just that one time in the studio, and that was
just that one time.
Taff says otherwise, but I'm not sure if that happened.
No, because no one ever played them, did they? No.
Well, all right, so you at this point you got Fuck the World put together. You go out and you know, Shane had said in an interview, I want to ask you about this on a side note, but Shane had said in an interview that the reason that you started doing LPs or albums was because you went in and did the single and it took like no time. He said it took you longer to set up than it took you to play it. So that's why you were like, oh fuck, we may as well just go in and do a whole fucking album. Now,
no, Simon said do an album.
Yeah.
Simon said do an album.
So Simon made you. Yeah. So Simon not made you, but Simon wanted you to do an album then.
Album, yeah. We did Fuck the World, and then he wanted to.
I mean, Shane's right. Shane's right. That Fuck the World, because I wrote most of Fuck the World, didn't I? But which is why it's so rubbish, actually. But it's even. I wrote
the words.
Yeah, you wrote. Yeah, but yeah, literally, we like. Yeah, once it was set up, we just went bang, and everything was first take. So, and you weren't allowed to do a second take. So whatever went down, and that was it, basically.
Now, when this thing comes out and everybody's like, "Whoa, this is the fucking coolest shit I've ever heard," then where are you at in this time and place? Because you're all in like your early 20s when this comes out, right? And it's kind of it's kind of like the reaction I'm assuming wasn't anticipated. In the way that it became, you know, I mean, the bands that you were mimicking, you essentially became like, not like even peers as, but most of the people that like that stuff liked your stuff equally or better. It became incredibly popular. The
problem is Dave and Shane would not play live with us because of the Vice Squad thing. Yeah. Because there's like a massive clash of what me and Eagle wanted to do and what they wanted to do was completely different, because we wanted to go out there and fucking go out and tour of it, didn't we?
But we didn't necessarily know. Like, we didn't know at the time that they got offered the Tokyo trip. We didn't know they got offered.
We knew about Dick Kennedy's.
But only after they turned it down, didn't they? So because by then, obviously, you know, as I said, like Shane was close to Simon, and we'd done it, and I mean, we didn't really care, did we? I mean, we did it.
I wanted to do that.
No, but we did. Like after we recorded it, it was, you know. We were just like having a laugh and doing what you do when you're young, and what's happening there?
It's just a strange message. So it's a strange message of being on screen.
You know, and you know, getting drunk and doing all sorts of things and going to gigs and that.
Yeah.
So we didn't set out to say we were going to be serious musicians, but
no, we would have taken it.
But you know, when we found out that that we'd actually been offered stuff and they turned it down, then we were pissed off.
Yeah, because they did give us the opportunity to say, we want to do it. They just said, no, we're not doing it.
So they basically they made it a joke on their own accord. Then.
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
that's the divide. That's the divide there. So then, where does the band start to splinter when this stuff goes? I mean, you didn't know about the Dead Kennedy stuff. You didn't know about the other opportunities that are coming up. Now, I know we're jumping ahead, so we'll go back, but what happens when you do find out about these things later on? Like, when did you find out about all this shit? And you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, we were fucking proper pissed off on that.
Yeah, but I mean, by then, I think by the time I found out, it was all like falling apart for me in a way, anyway, because we did never trust a friend as well, didn't we? So we did never trust a friend. That is probably the best thing we ever did at the time, and I don't know how that came out so good, but it was brilliant, wasn't it? And we did, but we were doing that as a 4-track EP with I Am the Surgeon as one of the 4 tracks, and then Simon said he wouldn't put I Am the Surgeon out because it was too offensive, which started to make us think that it was all going wrong. And then whilst this was all going on, of course, Becky was really pissed off with Dave and Shane for like loads of reasons, because she was really into like her animal rights stuff and really believed in it, and they used to like take the piss out of her all the time and sort of
that's what she had said in Burning Britain when she was interviewed with Ian Glasper on Vice Squad about she talked about that a bit. She didn't go by name with it, but she did talk about the frustration at the time of not taking the animal rights and stuff seriously. And so I had read about that. I'm in the ballpark with you.
Yeah, I mean, she was really into that stuff, and they weren't, but they deliberately sort of almost like wound up about it as well. But then she thought that what Dave had done for Chaotic Discord when we did the album Never Trust a Friend, she thought that was better
than what
the stuff he was doing for Vice Squad. So he was doing the demos for the Vice Squad second album, and then eventually like the Sweet Revenge stuff they did, or whatever, or the Vice Squad stuff with Leah and that. But she said the Chaotic Discord stuff was more what she wanted to do than the Vice Squad stuff. So that was all sort of splintering apart, and that's when eventually she got really pissed off with them, and then she left, and that's when obviously when I left.
So you go with her, right? So you two are still a couple at this point, and you leave with her. You go to
No. We'd stopped being a couple like long before, but I'd carried on working for Vice Squad because I'd been there and we were all mates and the thing. So, but she left basically and went to London. So I went to London with her.
What happens in London? That's the great divide. Everyone's always wanted to know what happens in London, because this is where the other record appears in Syndicate Records and all the shit with Max Splodge and stuff.
But the Chaotic Discord, So obviously, I'm still mates with all of them actually, because I was coming back to Bristol. Like I didn't have any disagreement with Dave and Shane particularly, and obviously Bambi. And then I think you told me you were doing a Chaotic Discord album.
Oh yeah, we went to another album.
Yeah, with Howard Excited. So Shane's mate or Dave's mate, Howard Excited. Yeah. So someone else was going to play bass. We probably could actually play bass, but they weren't Chaotic Discord. So obviously I said hang on, this was like not totally my idea, but this was like. A big part of this was my idea, and they said, basically, no, you've gone with Becky, so you're not in it anymore. Yeah. So somehow, and I don't know how. I was thinking about this after I read your thing, that I was going to do a Chaotic Discord album for Colin at Conflict on More to Hate. And I don't even know how that connection got made, but I went down to Elton where Colin lived, and we were going to do it on More to Hate, and it was going to be all everything donated to animal rights and all the other stuff, like anarchist groups and all of that. So, and we're going to do a Chaotic Discord album for that. And then suddenly, for some reason, and it was something to do, Syndicate said that he couldn't do it. They had to do it on Syndicate. And it was something to do with the way More to Hate was set up or licensed. So we couldn't do it for Colin and do it for all like the anarchy groups and stuff that Becky wanted to do. So we then ended up doing it on Syndicate, and because we were taking like too many drugs, I think, at the time, it didn't really work particularly well, and we basically fucked it up and screwed up the opportunity, and then handed the sort of baton back to the real.
I wrote better lyrics.
Yeah, the real guys. And there was this thing in sounds, wasn't there? They were writing letters and sounds about which was the real chaotic Dischord, and then.
Well, you ought to see the legends over the years. Like, I mean, pick up on this in like 90s America. Everybody's fucking lost. I mean, but what's interesting, like, Max Blodge was behind Syndicate Records, right? Like, Max worked on that, and then like Syndicate didn't really end up being a thing either. I know.
No, it's the Geezer. It's one of the business who had Captain Oi, I think. He was Syndicate.
Well, yeah.
He's now working for Cherry Red and owns all punk records in the world.
Yeah, pretty much, and probably including most of this material.
Yeah.
Now, so all right, now let's go to Don't Throw It All Away real quick. Actually, before that, let's talk about I wanted to ask you about the Sounds review, because you also do some of the photo shoots for around Fuck Religion, Never Trust a Friend, and some of the people that are in the photos. Now, both of you are in the original photo sessions.
Yeah.
There are people that, like, Dave and Shane aren't in them, though.
Yeah, some of the Dave and Shane aren't, not many, but that one.
Yeah, there are one or two that they are in.
Yeah. I'll send them to you if you want, and you can see. But not many, because they don't want to be seen with it.
No.
And that was before they were the EMI thing, wasn't it?
Yeah. So we got Michael Bill, who we wrote a song about called Boy Bill, and Martin Saunders, who was our cover
guy.
He was our cover. Yeah, he
cover
was, wasn't he? He was our cover boy. Yeah, cover boy, wasn't he? Because he had a Mohican, and he was one of our best mates. But he was a proper glue-head Mohican. Yeah, really
proper sniffer.
Yeah, glue in a plastic bag and all of that.
He kicked every ball.
Yeah, he was the man. So we used him from everything. We used him for Fuck the World.
Fuck the World.
Never Trust a Friend.
And,
he's on the first album. So he's on it, and Michael Bill basically. That's the and Mitchell.
Mitch,
the guy with the guy with the rockabilly. Yeah, he had the rockabilly shirt, the Confederate shirt.
He chops his fingers off. That's what he
yeah, because.
I have to ask, because like some of these images are so rare that they've been studied to death by punks. Now, all right, the two things. One, the I Hate Chaos UK t-shirt that you made.
My t-shirt, yeah.
Yes, that's become something of legend. So I'm gonna just drop that there, and you can tell the story.
He doesn't hate Chaos UK. It's bullshit.
Well, I know, but look, you know how confusing that shit. People would be like, what the fuck why do they hate Chaos UK? Yeah,
he doesn't hate us.
But we hated everybody. We hated everybody.
Well, yeah, I know, but why the shirt? Tell me about how you made the shirt. What's the story behind the shirt itself?
Well, I can say
he's just trying to be annoying.
It was just because I mean Simon loved Chaos UK. I mean, he absolutely loved them.
Disorder,
yeah, Disorder. And me and Rancid used to have a sort of.
He's going to sleep in the squad.
Good, yeah. Well, they tolerated us, and we tolerated them, but they didn't get on with David Shane at all.
Yeah, they liked us, but they didn't like David Shane.
Because they were quite clean and tidy, and Dave's mum used to iron his Adam and the Ant shirts every day, didn't he? And it was always like clean. Whereas we weren't crusty as and like living in squats like they were.
We did it the weekend.
Yeah.
So, but we were like sort of friends with them, didn't we?
Yeah, I mean, I love Chaos and.
Yeah,
I read in an interview that there was like that most of it was a joke, but that Shane had said there was some actual tension with Adrian from Chaos UK. Yeah,
definitely not. I had no tension with Chaos.
Well, this was like 40 years ago, though. I mean, y'all, so.
When I was 22 or something, and when we were drinking loads and things, and we did used to, or no, my Nancy didn't, but I did used to get into like stupid arguments with people and wind them up a bit and that, and so I think I did sort of argue with him and Disorder and that a bit.
Yeah, 'cause I think he's jealous because one of the guys from Disorder went out.
Oh yeah, Steve. Which Steve was?
Steve Robertson. Yeah. Steve Robinson. Yeah.
How did they react to this shit? Where did the special duties come in? Because Bambi at one point, or somebody says in one of the records, says, Steve, arrogant, it's past your bedtime. Where does that come in? Because that's always a little sleek one that I've loved. I was like, oh, how did everyone react to that shit?
I don't know why did we do that?
Because they had stupid haircuts, wasn't it?
They had like COVID, like yours now.
Yeah.
They were pretty young. They were pretty young kids then, weren't they?
They came along with that stuff about crass are rubbish and we're going to destroy crass and blah blah blah.
And then beat him up.
And then Steve Ignorant beat them up in the service, didn't it? And of course, like you can't turn around when you're some like snotty kid in 1982 and say crass are rubbish and like there is no crass anymore. We're the future.
They're a bit like army boys, weren't they? It's a bit like Marchie.
Well, they're just kids. They were like mothers. They were like real.
That's a bit rude, isn't it?
Yeah.
Look, that's a bit.
They were figures of fun at the time.
I've been gone so long now, I probably should have got you guys.
Should have, yeah.
But the special duties were considered figures of fun at the time, so everyone took the piss out of them. But now they're bloody enormous. So
they're not really enormous. They're fat. Yeah.
Yeah, true.
I've never heard.
I'll tell you a story. Look, I was in Blackpool in 2007, and they were scheduled to play, and I left the damn set early, which was one of the best fucking sets I'd ever seen in my life. Right? They're doing Disco Man, Captain's in his whole Navy outfit. It's huge, right? All the psychedelics in the background. I go to see the special duties over in the center of the room. Right? You've been in the Winter Garden, so I go over there. They take 45 minutes trying to hang up their banner. And they missed their entire set.
Wow.
That sounds like them.
So, yeah, never saw them. Now, anyway, that leads me to the art. Now we get to 84, and things start to shake. All right, now Ampex, when do you actually step out of the picture, and when does
Well, I've never trust a friend.
Never trust a friend.
Yeah. So I did Never Trust a Friend, and the sex aid stuff at the same time. And then
what happens with sex aids? Let's talk sex aids, because you all switch positions on that one, and then Bambi, you go to drums on that one, and you wind up on the microphone.
Yeah. So that was because obviously the sex aids, as we said, like was the original band before Vice Squad. So Becky was in the sex aids with us. So again, when we had studio time paid for by EMI, and nothing was happening. We just use it and make sex aids.
Well, so wait, what's the No Hopers Club? What was the No Hopers Club?
That was just about Shane and Dave and their mates. So there wasn't really anything
to do with that
involved us. We just really the sex aids was again my and Vance's band basically.
When you went with Becky, when you were in London, did you how did you work on that album? Who all recorded on the other album? What was the studio session like for that?
Exactly the same as the original Chaotic Discord album. So we went there, we didn't have any songs written at all, but we had Steve Roberts, who used to play drums in the UK subs, and this guy Nick Heslin who played with TV Smiths when TV Smiths was doing Cheap, which is one of TV Smith's bands, and we just went in and we literally wrote the songs on the spot, and Becky sat in the engineering room, basically writing some lyrics on scraps of paper. But we were really out of heads because we did it on. We were going into the studio at 10 o'clock at night and coming out at 7 o'clock in the morning. So we were really we were drinking before. And smoking dope and all shit before we went into the studio, go in, do the stuff, which is why it was rubbish in the end. And no one was paying much attention. And we're back on the fuck off your cum one. And that was it, because when you are good, we had 3 nights I think to do the album, and I said it was a wasted opportunity. It could have been much better. We could have actually raised the money that we wanted to raise for. The animal rights stuff and the class war stuff, but we didn't, So And we never got a penny for that one as well either. Yeah? Like no one got paid for that ever. But we didn't get any money for this.
Oh, right. So yeah,
We didn't get any money for the other stuff, did we?
so this, like the combat stuff and all that. I used to do, mate. So like about the royalties, right? Chaotic Discord. Me and Igor pretty much have fuck all over the years because David Shane had it all.
What happened? Like, I mean, in 2001, there was like a Punkcore did a reissue, and somehow that shit wound up being an issue with Virgin Records. Like, I think Simon had some trouble with Virgin over the Now title or something. I've read about this, but
I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I call punk.
That's what I call a fucking rap.
Yeah, it came out on Punkcore. I mean, this was like at the time where, like, earlier, like a lot of the street punk stuff in the USA was going on with like the first wave of things, like with bands like the Casualties and stuff. So that kind of put y'all again on the radar over here at that time. But I had just read recently about where Simon had mentioned that there had been a bunch of legal hangups with Virgin or not Virgin, with EMI. Sorry. Of all labels,
because they owned the now property, so he put Now on the front of an album, and they said, no, you can't do that, mate. This is our existing historic property. On your heels, or we'll sue you.
Right, so that's the way it goes down. And then now let's go to Don't Throw It All Away, because Don't Throw It All Away is a weird record. One, it's like it's kind of become a hit in its own way, and then two, how the hell did this all come about? Because, I mean, like, you've got all kinds of different people playing on this album. You've got Captain, you got Knox. I mean, who's doing what and where?
I have no idea how that happened. I wasn't involved. There's like two sides to the album. You got the Captain Sensible, Knox and all that. I wasn't involved in any of that.
That's why he didn't like it.
And then I was involved in the punk rock side.
So did you guys, when Bambi, did you all, like, you talk a lot about the split between, like, you and Igor and Dave and Shane. Now, how was this resonating, like, between the band as years went on?
It wasn't really like that. I mean, everyone just moved on and did their own thing. I mean, me and Igor just stayed mates all the time. His issue was with Dave and Shane, not with me. So I hardly ever saw Dave and Shane. They never wanted to do. I mean, I was like pushing them all the time to play live with Dischord, and they never wanted to do it. So I've had like fucking wanking off many years of frustration. I was glad to spunk out the other night.
But because you're mates with Igor, that's why it's weird DIY now.
After Igor left, when things kept going there, because you do live in New York. What all the photo sessions with with Ken Lush, and they're really lavish and stuff. What the fuck? What's the story?
No, that was just. They're not really lavish. It's just a picture on the wall. It's like a picture on the wall. With a bed, there's a picture on the wall. We put a bench, like a park bench, into a house that had a picture of like palm trees on the wall. That's all it was.
Did people really believed you went to New York ever? Or have you, over the years?
Yeah, we never.
I know you didn't go to New York, but did people believe it? over.
I think they did. Yeah.
But particularly people from the Far East, we're getting messages all the time saying, "This isn't your first gig. You played in New York."
Yeah. What about Who Killed E.T.? When you wrote Who Killed E.T., where does this come from? Because some of the lyrics that, I think that's what made Chaotic Discord work, and, where Igor and Becky missed it was that, like, the humor is gone. I mean, it's like shit like, I used to skateboard across town in the mornings and listen to, like, Anarchy at Woolworths every day, or Batcave Benders, like, in Batcave Benders. So you're like taking the piss out of the Batcave, like, in that group back then, right?
In London, yeah. Yeah, because back at that time, there's a lot of goths in Bristol. So it's just taking the piss out of goths, yeah.
So when, tell me about some of the lyrics. So how did people respond to this stuff? Because, I mean, everybody heard this shit. So was everybody, like, ready to fight you over it? Or were you, what happened?
Goths don't really fight. They just
not the goths, but I mean, like,
disapprove.
What about the pop stars?
No one ever gives any grief about the lyrics. Seriously, do it. What? About the lyrics, they're like,
they just love them.
They got fuck off. Sister nurses their shit. And all.
What about? Okay, so how does it change over the years? Now, eventually, at some point, when Riot City starts to kind of slow down, and you are doing the later stuff, how do things change as far as what are you doing in the studio at this point?
Yeah, that's like Goat fucking Virgin Killers time.
Yeah. How does it? What happens at this point? What's going on at this era?
We went a bit more metal-y on it, I think. Like, sort of started to cross over. People involved a bit more metal.
It's cleaner, but you've got. I mean, you brought in. You got who was playing with you that time? You had Merv and Sudi came in and started playing with you then, right?
Yeah, and we had a guy from what's the Bristol fucking metal band?
Onslaught.
Onslaught. We had a guy from Onslaught as well.
Oh yeah, that's when because Simon turned them down for a release on Riot City or something, didn't he?
Yeah. They got big.
Yeah, I heard he regretted that.
That's one of my faves. That album, Get Fucking Virgin Killers. We play about how many songs is up there? We did 3 up there, didn't we?
I think we do,
yeah. Rape and Pillage. Well, we changed the name.
Yeah, so
Roy reckons that you can't say rape.
I reckon.
Which ones do you play off?
You can't do songs.
You can't say rape and pillage anymore. So we changed the name to Goats and Pillage.
So now we fuck Goat. Yeah, fuck.
It makes sense now.
It's more apt.
It makes sense.
And we do necrophilia.
Necrophilia. That's like a nice song.
And what's the other one?
Fuck yeah, necrophilia.
It's Psycho Hippie on that one.
No.
PPODT.
Oh yeah, it's on there.
Necrophilia is one of the best.
What about Ripcord? Did you really hate Ripcord, or were you just fucking with?
No, of course not. I didn't even know them.
Yeah, they were from Western Superbad, weren't they, or something?
Yeah. Have you ever met them?
But, no.
What's that?
We didn't hate them because we only devoted 5 seconds of.
No. I mean, have you ever met them though? Like, what did they think?
I think I have. I just don't remember them.
No.
Yeah, we if anyone was going to have met them, it would have been Roy. But
Who? You
I don't think we hate anybody really.
Well, we do. We hate everybody, but
just Dusty Ghost and
We definitely hate
How does things go with?
We
What do
hate
you think of
people.
all the interviews that Shane's done over the years, Bambi, or the stuff like?
boring, aren't they?
boring.
It's a bit like an interview with Glenn Matlock about the Sex Pistols. No one wants to hear that one.
It's fucking
You called
boring.
it, Bambi, you called it. You said it was in Ian Glasper's book. You said it was boring, Brit.
Boring.
Why didn't they interview any of you about the band? Why has this never happened before?
We have no idea.
Well, Shane's got high profile. He writes for a lot of metal and punk magazines. So I think Ian Glasper knew him through that. So I think that was the connection there. Shane's done fanzines over the years.
And obviously Simon's still married to his sister.
Oh, that was that as well. So yeah, I guess it was easier to get hold of.
All right, let's come back modern day. All right, how does this all come back together? Igor. By the way, for everybody listening out there, Igor and Ampex are the same person. Bambi and Rancid are the same person. So if I'm using their names interchangeably, I'm sorry. Now, but when you two get the band back together, how does this all happen?
Fucking always wanted to do it. Never got. Just didn't happen. And then
Yeah, I came to Bristol because my mum died, basically, and it was snowing,
yeah.
and we couldn't, and I couldn't get home.
Christmas fairy tale.
There was really bad snow, and I phoned him up, and he didn't even live in Bristol anymore. But you asked him to be in Bristol, didn't
Yeah.
you? So in the middle of this snowstorm, the day after my mum had died, we went to a restaurant, and obviously I was upset and pissed and everything. But leading up to that, I'd been like, like you do, like looking up your old girlfriends on Facebook and all of that stuff. And
There's only one of them.
yeah, only one for me. I just keep looking at Becky every day, but she looks better than me after 40 years. I think anyway. But yeah, so you start looking up Chaotic Discord, don't you, on YouTube and Google and Facebook, and you start these people saying like, these songs are good, and these songs, even though it's a piss tape, these songs are actually as good as no, but people say it. Like, this is supposed to be a piss tape, but the songs are actually as good as other people's. And I started listening to them again. So when we met, and I said, should we do Chaotic Discord?
Now, what I actually said, right? I said, I don't want to play fucking golf when I retire. Let's do Discord.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah. So then we phoned up this guy Jesse, who's a heavy metal guitarist, didn't we?
Yeah.
So your mate,
Yeah, someone I know, yeah, heavy metal guy.
and he said he'd do it.
Yeah, but he did that.
All right.
So we said, yeah, we'll do it.
Have you heard of the Soap
No, I've
Girls?
not heard of the Soap Girls. I have not heard of the Soap Girls.
They're South African sort of two sisters that play naked and really confront the crowd.
They're completely naked, playing punk rock. And I went to see him in like a little town, and he was a support band.
Yeah,
Roy Crusty.
my band Hacksaw were playing, and after the gig, I could see Ranson and his missus just lurking about. Didn't know who he was at the time. And then when you're at the merch store, people just kind of hover and think, what are they doing? He walked up to us. I thought there's some kind of sex cult or something. But he walked up to us and he went, "Do you want to join my band?" And I'm like, "Oh, here we go." I goes, "All right, then who's your band?" He said, Dischord. And then he fainted on the spot. It's like my favourite band. I'm only a couple of years younger than them, but the favourite band of my youth just asked me if I wanted to join them. So apparently they asked about 100 other drummers and no one could do it.
But once you wake up after you blacked out on the floor, then what happens?
Well, about a fortnight later, we have first practice. I'm rapidly learning never trust a friend at home in my kitchen. And realising that all the songs are the same drumming as my proper band, my other band. And I thought I can do this, and then we did it, and it worked. And then all of a sudden we're here now talking to you.
Are you currently practicing? Are you rehearsing in Bristol?
Yeah. We rehearse a lot. Yeah.
Once you all start getting the lineup put back together, when's Rebellion come into play?
Well, that's when you phoned them up.
Yeah, because I emailed Rebellion. This is before, after being let's do Dischord. So I emailed Rebellion and said, I gave him like the back history and that, and he went, "Fucking hell, yeah, we'll have to, we've got to put the Rebellion." And that's what started it, and then we got Roy.
And then all of a sudden, everybody in the world's going to Rebellion to see us.
You got, and then the pandemic hits though. So what happens when the pandemic hits? Because you guys are all squared away to do shit, and then the world shuts down. So what?
But we'd written a song called COVID-19 the day that they called it COVID-19. We were going to rehearse it the next week, going to record it the next week, and then shut down. So just everything get cancelled and pushed back and cancelled and pushed back. But then we thought finally we ought to do a proper gig before Rebellion, and played probably 100 yards from this pub we're in now. And it was mental.
Fucking mental.
Because obviously we went into lockdown, and we had this guitarist, Jesse, he was a great guitarist, heavy metal guy, and then suddenly he went AWOL and suddenly disappeared. So we gone from having, me and Rancid and Jesse and no drummer, and then we got Roy, and then we rehearsed it all up. We know what we're doing. We're going to Rebellion, but everything gets cancelled. Then Jesse disappears. So then we're trying to find another guitarist, and we had gigs booked, didn't we? Again. Yeah. So we had a gig to do, and then we found another guitarist, and we rehearsed it up and did it. And then suddenly he said, like, no, he couldn't do it. He was frightened, but then everything locked down again, didn't it?
Yeah.
And then so it didn't matter anyway. We got locked down again, and then
we were looking for other guitarists. Anyone of our age seemed to be either have heart failure or be like on the verge of death. So I was just thinking about. I was asking Mucus, who's just disappeared to the loo, asking him about who else could we have, and I suddenly thought, shit, he's like an annoying little cousin to everybody in Bristol, but he knows everyone and he can play like a dream. We thought he stood right behind me now as well. We thought let's have him in the band. He suits the atmosphere perfectly. He's a little younger than us, but he looks older.
He looks older, yeah.
Little grey hair and stuff.
No, have you heard from has Shane or Simon or anyone has anyone said anything to you since you've reformed?
We asked Shane. You asked Shane.
I asked Shane to drum. He said no.
Why'd he say no?
I don't know. He's got a hunchback. I think that might be.
Well, no, and he said obviously Dave. No, be fair. He said so. Dave obviously died. Dave died in Spain like 10 years ago now, and he said that obviously everything he did was always with Dave, and he didn't really want to do stuff without Dave. Even if he could physically, but he's older than, he's sort of physically older than we are. So
he said to me that Dave thing. Also, he's not really up to it.
Were you all in touch with Dave at the time that he passed away?
No, I've seen him for years.
No, because he turned into a big football hooligan. So, like here in Bristol, there's like the biggest football team in Bristol City. He turned into a big football hooligan, hadn't he? And he was one of these going around like giving people calling cards, when they slash their face with Stanley blades and that. So he turned into a big thug, hadn't he? And then, but then he went to Spain to open a bar.
Oh yeah.
And then unfortunately he died, but he wasn't that sort of person, which amazed me how he became a football hooligan, because he wasn't like a nasty person at all. No, he wasn't at all violent, but that's what he became. But then unfortunately died, and he did have a lot of talent, Dave. Everything about all the Chaotic Discord albums, all the ones that I'm not on. Lots of them. No. I mean, they all have some terrible songs on. They have terrible like money making ideas, like Captain Sensible and Knox. But there's some good songs on most of them. Like, not every song in there, but if you take the entire Chaotic Discord catalogue, you can find probably 2 albums of good stuff, good songs on there. And Dave wrote 80-90% of the 89% of the tunes when I was in it, probably 100% of the tunes when I wasn't. So
and we've just written 1 EP's worth of absolute bollocks and recorded.
Yeah, with the new one. Tell me about that.
So kind of wrote itself, really. We were practicing, and then just things would come up, didn't it?
One's about paedophiles, like famous paedophiles.
Yeah.
And our disdain for them.
Jimmy Savile and Ralph Harris.
Probably more local villains.
We got a COVID song.
Yeah,
it's quite nice.
What one about
Boris Johnson?
Yeah, Boris Johnson. You may be aware of his work. People with Botox.
Yeah.
And there's another one, isn't there? I'm sure there's another one.
No, Jesse's got the mum.
Oh yeah.
So the former guitarist. Yeah.
One of the reasons he couldn't play at one point was because he had mumps for quite a long time. So we wrote a song about him having mumps. I don't know what you call it. So is mumps called something different in America?
No, we call it mumps. It's still mumps.
Yeah.
We don't have anything unique.
To be honest, when you think about the meanings of the other Chaotic Discord songs, it just falls into line, doesn't it?
Yeah. It's like kicker in the cunt, stuff in the bag.
Bambi, at the end of this stuff, in the late '80s, when do things start fizzling out? After Very Fucking Bad, what's
very fucking bad? I don't know.
Why the choice of Michael Jackson?
Who
is that in the?
I fucking hate
Who
that.
Who is
picture.
that? Whose face is that?
It's fucking my face.
I was always wondering.
Yeah.
I hate that picture.
And I fucking hate.
Hey, I've got a T-shirt of it. Do you want me? I'll mail it to you.
That's been bootlegged all around the world.
I'm serious. I have a fucking T-shirt.
Like now, digital, but back in the day, I didn't see that picture before it got published. I would never have allowed that. And I've been devastated all my life about that picture. Fucking horrible.
It's just kids in Japan walking around with that already.
What it is, it's not even hair, it's just wool put on my head.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of the band Tom and Boot Boys?
Yeah. They bootlegged the entirely bootlegged that cover.
Yeah. The artist copy of very fucking.
Saw us out a gig over there.
But they're
saw us out a gig in Japan.
But
I'm not the one to, but there are people that can do it for sure.
Tom and Boot Boys, Swankies as well. The guy from Swankies told me that he formed the band because he'd heard us and said, "I've got to start a band."
Yeah, that's what you ever heard the Swankies live albums. Swankies play off of you all very heavily, in a lot of stuff,
Yeah,
and they became like the Swankies became like legend to Japan. I mean, they're wonderful. If you haven't, you've listened to them, I suppose. So yeah, you love it. Man.
Oh yeah, they owe everything to us.
That is true. So without you, the world would be a worse place. So now, what is it like to be an influence to all these things? When
I don't feel like an influence at all.
No,
but you are an influence. You are an influence. So what do you do with that shit? You've ruined lots of lives.
We definitely ruined because
we're gonna make it.
All these fucking kids went out and got bad haircuts, and they're like, "We're gonna start bands. We're gonna be like these guys."
No, the worst thing after the gig in Bristol, was 3 people that obviously done massive glue sniffing said I ruined their lives because I got them into glue sniffing.
Let's put it this way: there was people I was friends with in Bristol before we played the gig, and after we played the gig, they were actually influenced by me. And to be influenced by me is a very bad thing.
There were people who came from Australia and the Netherlands to this show,
Yeah.
especially for the show.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't doubt it.
crazy.
I mean, everybody's gonna go. That's why I was telling Bambi, if you came to the U.S., you'd melt the countryside. But
People knew who I was before in Bristol, but after they saw that gig, they were like, "Mark, you are the way I will do life from now on." And I was like, "No, don't." I was like, "No, don't."
how have you dealt with life? How have you dealt with life since fame?
Not very well. Not very well.
It'll get easier. So, all right, now, what are you gonna do with the new material? You gonna release some new material? You got any tours set up? Anything going on with it? Where's the future? What's going on now?
We will release it.
Yeah, it's going to be released at some point once we've got.
So we just 5 tracks and then we're going to do the album, haven't we?
Yeah. do album after that.
If people want to hear it.
So we'll release an EP first of the ones that we recorded today. So it was 4 today, plus
Five.
maybe a 5, maybe a 5th bonus.
There's a bonus for the bonus track for the internet people.
And then yeah, there'll probably be re-recordings of all of the other ones. I would have thought.
No, I'll do a new album.
Yeah, it's got to be you.
Album. Okay.
And the you boys talking for us.
Well, I think we should re-record the old ones as well, but maybe not. I don't know. It's up to you guys.
That's still got to be new, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
What do you think?
What do you think?
What should we do?
This is I don't, this is like being responsible for history. It makes me nervous. I don't want to mess it up. I don't know. Let's see.
You can't mess up any more than it is.
We'll ask you the same question after you've heard the new EP.
The main thing, though, is that whatever happens, we're not going to take ourselves seriously and think we're like a big, great punk band influencing people. If people are stupid enough to be influenced by us, then it means they've got probably as little talent as we have. But they love the same music as we do. So,
so that means they're not stupid then.
Well, I don't know. Well, no. Stupid's probably the wrong word. Or
misguided.
Yeah. I mean, we had no talent.
Lovable,
but we love like rock, proper punk rock. We love proper punk rock. And if you've got no talent and a sense of humour, and I think that's what it's all about. Isn't it?
What are some of the most commonly asked questions you get today? Like, the gigs and stuff, because I'm sure people are really curious about a lot of things.
Well, were you in Vice Squad? Which one of you was in Vice Squad?
I mean, the good questions, not
yeah.
That never happens.
Can I get some beers from the rider?
What's the other one?
I don't know.
We get kind of like, did you really play New York? Who's Michael Bill? A lot of questions about Becky.
Yeah, dude, what are the questions with Becky? Do you think Becky's pissed y'all are back together? Have you heard anything about that?
I don't know if you've even heard us.
We don't think about it, do we? I don't think about it.
Well, we're both playing Rebellion, so we're expecting to see her looking. Yeah, we expect to see her looking jealously from the side of the stage.
We're bigger than Vice Squad now.
We are bigger than
Vice Squad.
We are bigger than Vice
Yeah,
Squad.
for sure. Always have been.
What if you could do it?
Becky was very, very silly to get rid of it.
What if you covered one of the songs? You should cover a
No, I wanted to cover a Vice
not a
Squad.
Vice
Nobody
Squad
wants to
song,
do
a
that.
song off of
No,
a song
don't
off
that.
of what's a song off of what the hell's the album name? I always forget it. There's two names of it. Fuck Off You Cunt, the album. What was it originally called?
Oh, come on, we thought about it, but they're all rubbish. I can't. I've listened to it time and time again, trying to find a song that we could do. Because you said we should do one off it. Yeah. Maybe we will. Maybe we'll. Maybe we'll. We were so off our heads. It was just wrong. The whole thing was just wrong, really.
We'll have to get back on the glue and do it.
I mean, if you're completely wrecked at like 3 o'clock in the morning, maybe it sounds great, but it really wasn't. It really wasn't. Because actually, the lyrics that Becky wrote for that, some of them are actually quite good, but we just executed it really, really bad.
What's your favorite cover of all of them? Because who drew the back of the leather jacket for Never Trust a Friend?
Oh God, yeah.
This is
I've still got that jacket somewhere.
You got to get that out. I need a picture of that.
I got it
hide
somewhere.
that shit and get it authenticated.
I mean, if we're really telling the truth here, we stole it. We were at a Vice Squad gig, weren't we? I don't know where we were, but we were at a Vice Squad gig, and somebody had that on their jacket. That's why they wrote the song. There's somebody out there in 1981, 82 had that on their jacket.
You wrote the song around the jacket?
We wrote
the song around the jacket.
Because he said, you all see this guy's jacket, didn't you?
Yeah.
And then you paid someone to do.
I don't pay someone to do. I can't fucking draw it.
Because so God knows. I mean, we don't even know where were we when you saw it. You remember where we were? Somewhere up north. Somewhere in the north of England. So someone had it on their jacket, and they must be really pissed off because they must go, "That was my jacket first."
I know that would be hilarious.
There's a fat bit in skinhead somewhere in Gateshead in the north.
The worst album cover is bad.
I
I agree with you.
No, that's
I like
not
the
the
goat one.
worst
Goat
one.
fucking person. what a great title that is.
And the Fat Religion album, that's kind of it's the old Conservative club that was 100 yards from my old house.
Fishbones. Me and Van Sitter for a place called Fishbones. Even though it's like a real working class area, for some reason, the Conservatives in the UK are like the right wing party,
Like Trump.
Yeah. So they're like So that's why we did Saunders.
With the rebels.
Saunders with his petrol bomb, and then the guy came out and opened it. Is that on the cover?
It's on the cover, yeah.
Yeah, but the guy opened the door. Yeah.
So I used to walk past that place every day and didn't twig where it was until I joined the band. And thought, oh hell, that's the place on my doorstep.
Been there all those years, never had a clue. That's now. What songs are your most requested that you don't play? Are there any that people are like pushing you to play that you don't?
Sausage, beans, and chips.
You don't play it. You don't
Yeah.
Sausage, beans, and
You don't
chips.
play sausage, beans, and so what's the lineup right now? What songs are you playing? I gotta know that. That's essential here. What's the lineup?
Oh,
Right,
What
so
we do?
we start off with
Never trust a friend.
Never Trust a Friend.
Right.
Then it's Anakin
Anakin Woolworth.
Blue Accident,
Blue Accident.
Boy Bill.
Yeah.
There's 4 new ones.
But what else is there?
City Claustrophobia.
Who Killed E.T.?
Yeah, Special Duties one.
Yeah.
New one, and then necrophilia.
77 and 82.
Fuck off, Ripcord.
Yeah. Fuck religion, fuck politics, fuck the lot of you.
Sturgeon.
Yeah, I'm a surgeon.
Psycho Hippie Skateboard Punks.
We picked all of our favourite songs, and like so probably half of it is off the first album, and then the rest of it is off the rest of the
Scattered
album.
around.
So you're playing about an hour or so worth of material then.
Hour.
Yeah, but probably 45, 48
Yeah,
minutes about that.
if we stretched it out, yeah.
It's pretty
Yeah,
solid.
Rape and Pillage, we do obviously. Don't we?
All the songs are about 90 seconds long anyway, so it sounds like a load.
And we played them faster than they were played originally.
We get so many of these old comeback bands, they just like big skinheads going through the motions, looking bored, playing them after speed. So
Yeah,
we
we
thought,
fucking go for it.
should we go the other way? We double them up.
We want to add sausage, beans, and chips. We want to add.
Spike the World.
Fuck the world. Cliff Richard's fucking cunt because I sing that.
You should do Back on the Piss again. You should do Back on the Piss again. That'd
be hard for us, I
if you
reckon.
did Back on the Piss again, that song. Just saying. If
No, you're thinking the hard.
Okay,
So
we
you're
can
back
do
in
that.
the game.
Hold on,
It would be hard for the past.
So that's
Yeah.
No, it would be hard.
but then it's not
I know, but it's like the ultra joke, like in the past. So then it's chaotic discords, it's sex aids, it's then everybody's like, what the fuck is going on again?
We can do Back on the Piss.
We could do back on this. Yeah,
I'm telling you, if you play that song, make sure that everyone's wasted. But you play that song when everyone's wasted, and the bar will fall apart like you've never seen. Show me the way to go home. I whistled that sometimes. Anyway, well, I will let you all go, but I definitely appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. And I didn't Ampex. I didn't know that when I was talking to Bambi, I didn't know that you were back involved with the band as well. So it's cool to be able to talk to both of you at the same time about this, and it's great to meet you guys as well. Can you hear me back there? It was great to meet you all as well.
Yeah, we can. Yeah, so we're 50% original, and we're really happy to talk to you.
Can I ask you one question?
You can ask me any questions you want. All right, no, let's stay. You interview me now. I'm ready.
What is your favourite colour?
Shut up.
Fuck
He's
that. I
drank
hate
too much
colors.
beer.
No.
He hit the 3.5 points point.
I was going to say, how can we make this interview better next
What do you
time?
mean?
What we can do to
What do you
improve
mean?
it? Where did we go wrong with this interview?
You can't get. Chaotic Discord being insecure with me makes me insecure. I don't know how to deal with.
No, we're trying to learn. We learn like feedback. If it's negative, it's good.
You're in our favourite pub.
Oh yeah, we got to say that, haven't we?
Yeah,
we're Elmer's
Elmer's
Pub.
Arms in Bristol.
Yeah.
Best pub in Britain.
Yeah, man, I'm talking to you guys hanging out in the bar. I think you're doing exactly the way you need to. The only difference I would make was if I could be sitting there in front of you instead of on a computer.
Oh, bless you.
Yeah.
We're singing a song.
Well,
Let's all sing to it. Back on the piss again. Back on the piss again. The boys, Bucky and Punky Man friends. Back on the piss again.
All right. Well, it's been great talking with you guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye. We'll see you in Portland.
Bye.